What is up, guys? Delboy here. So Terence Crawford defeats Jeff Horn by a ninth round stoppage to become a freeweight world champion, and he becomes the new WBO welterweight champion. I felt that, Crawford for the most part looked pretty good. In the first couple of rounds, he was trying to get used to Jeff Horn's style, his awkward sort of herky-jerky movement. He definitely won rounds 1 and 2, but he looked a little bit disjointed. But after the first couple of rounds, Crawford found his rhythm, he found his range, and he started to outbox and piece up Jeff Horn. It was a slow beating kind of thing. Jeff Horn came to fight, but he was really, really limited. Didn't really have anything to trouble Terence Crawford. As the fight wore on, it was just basically Jeff Horn getting outboxed and getting countered by Terence Crawford. One area where I was impressed with Crawford, though, was his strength on the inside. I felt when Horn got up close, Crawford actually looked like the stronger man, and he was actually doing some good work on the inside. Jeff Horn's best chance going into this fight was to apply pressure, and sometimes Crawford kind of invited that on, and he actually got the better of Jeff Horn, so I was impressed with that part of Crawford's game. But for the most part, it was Crawford, just walking Jeff Horn into shots and outboxing him, basically. As it got past round 6, I felt Terence Crawford started to hurt Jeff Horn a little more. I believe at the end of round 8, he caught him with a lovely counter, kind of buzzed Jeff Horn. In round 9, Terence Crawford dropped Jeff Horn. Again, really good counter shot. Jeff Horn beat the count, gets up, but to Terence Crawford's credit, he showed good finishing instincts, and he jumped on Jeff Horn, didn't smother his work, got some shots off, and the referee waved it off. Was it premature in terms of a stoppage? Maybe, but listen, man, Jeff Horn didn't have any chance in there. He wasn't going to win the fight, so yeah, Jeff Horn could have been allowed to continue, but to me, it was looking like he was on the verge of getting stopped, or at the very least, he wasn't going to win that fight. So yeah, man, it was what it was, the stoppage. But yeah, good performance from Terence Crawford. One thing I will say, I felt Crawford in this fight looked a little bit slower than what he did at light welterweight and lightweight, and that's to be expected as you put weight on. But I felt it was quite noticeable, actually. And that's going to be interesting going into high-level fights with the likes of Keith Thurman and Errol Spence. One positive thing for Crawford, like I said earlier, I felt he dealt with the inside pressure of Jeff Horn really well. He showed really good strength on the inside and got some work done himself. That's good signs for a fight with Errol Spence down the line. Obviously, Spence likes to come forward, push you back, really make the most of his size and strength. So the way Terence Crawford dealt with Jeff Horn's size was impressive. Obviously, Spence is a lot better than Horn, but it's good preparation. I'm still yet to be convinced of Terence Crawford at welterweight, I've got to say. I'm not trying to take credit away from Crawford, but going into this fight, I didn't really rate Jeff Horn highly. I've always felt he's the weakest champion at welterweight. I felt he lost to Pacquiao, if you looked at some of Jeff Horn's fights, look at the Gary Corcoran fight. He was losing rounds in that fight. Jeff Horn is a good, solid fighter, but to me, he's not elite. He's not elite. And I think there are numerous welterweights who would beat Jeff Horn, guys like Errol Spence and Keith Thurman, but guys like Sean Porter, Danny Garcia. I'd even pick guys like Devin Alexander and Jesse Vargas to beat Jeff Horn, to be honest with you. And again, I'm not taking credit away from Terence Crawford, but this is what I was saying in the lead up. I just didn't really rate Jeff Horn that highly, and the reality is the betting odds don't lie. Terence Crawford was an overwhelming favourite going into this fight, and he did what he had to do, so he deserves credit for stopping Jeff Horn. That was a good look, stopping Jeff Horn, because Jeff Horn is quite a tough guy. So yeah, credit to Terence Crawford for getting the stoppage victory. He did what he had to do, but Errol Spence and Keith Thurman are two completely different propositions. Don't get it twisted. As far as I'm concerned, I know Terence Crawford is highly rated on the pound-for-pound list. In some cases he's listed as number 1. But to me, he's not beating that calibre of fighter. He's not beating a Spence, even a Keith Thurman. So I'm still on the fence. If that fight got made tomorrow against Errol Spence, I would pick Spence, I'll be honest with you. But time reveals all. Can these fights even get made? You know, obviously Terence Crawford is with Bob Arum, whereas, you know, Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, they're on the other side. So can these fights even get made? That remains to be seen. But we'll see what happens. I felt Terence Crawford looked really good against Jeff Horn. He did what he had to do. Looked good doing it. What do you guys think? Peace.